Hello. I just want to get something off my chest. Personally, like, um, you know, being married to a black man is a whole lot different than being in a relationship with a black man. Like, when you're married to someone, it really does change everything in the relationship that you had and that you now have. You know what I mean? Like, in case you don't know what I mean, it's more real because I made a commitment before God, and it's it's a forever promise that I made with my Lord God that I will see this marriage through, right? And we are one. So when he goes through things, I'm feeling it, right? And now with the whole media, social media, bringing to light these things that have always been happening, mind you, when it comes to racism, just with random people or police officers. This has always been happening. This is not brand new, and I know you might hear that and you might not think the same. You might not even think racism exists, and this is specifically for people that want to say racism doesn't exist, or they don't believe it's institutional racism, discrimination, none of that. You're full of it, and I believe you're ignorant, and not talking about you, and I'm not trying to insult you in a manner like calling you names. I just feel you're ignorant because it's right there. It's always been there. And with social media now, you can't ignore it. I mean, technically you can ignore it because you choose to just avoid those topics or whatnot. But it's posted. Like, if you have friends that are, all about equality, and they're posting that stuff, you see it, you know what I mean, and you choose to turn a blind eye on it, you choose not to act on it, you choose, when you see racism, discrimination, anything of the sort, you choose not to stand up with that person or for that person. You choose to do that, and that's on you. That's your conscience that you're risking, putting in jeopardy, because it will eat at you eventually. I can't tell you when, but it will eat at you eventually. Now, where is this conversation coming from? Where is this coming from personally from me? Well, I take sociology of criminology, and basically it's how the system is corrupt, in a sense where we've adjusted things, Jim Crow laws and whatnot, but they're still in existence, okay? And you want to maybe challenge me on that and say, whoa, hold up, okay? It changed from slaves to, if you're arrested, you're no longer a human being, right? Because the minute you get convicted and you spend time in prison, you are no longer allowed to vote. You're not allowed to have certain insurances. You're not allowed to get school money. You're not allowed to get jobs. Certain jobs you're automatically disqualified from. Nursing, I think, is one of them. For sure, you cannot work in any kind of home care, any kind of adult care, any kind of care, period. Because even when in regards to children, you could try to get a job in there, but once they see that you have a record, let alone, like, okay, certain places you can't work or whatever, but there's places that will judge you and not hire you, and you can't prove it's because of your record. They could say you're just not what they're looking for, right? And so you basically punish them. They do their time. Okay, they do their time, and you punish them by putting them on parole. What's parole for? You don't need parole. You do not need parole, because honestly, if you should still be in prison, you should still be in prison. You're on parole. You have to face all these rules. You have to do all that. Then you know, it's hard for you to get a job, so you have to go on aid, but then aid doesn't last forever. They have their own requirements, they have their own things that, they do. It's just difficult. You want to go to school, you might not get financial aid, or at least not the amount that everyone else does. It is hard for someone that has been in prison, and it's really not fair. And so that's what we discussed in class, things that led up to that nature, or things that are still leading up to that nature. And the ending is very sad of this movie called 13th, and it's on Netflix, so I recommend that you go watch that. It's on Netflix, 13th, and the end is just like how mind-boggling that this shit still exists, and how our president condones this behavior. Like, it is seriously ridiculous. And a lot of things that the president said during his campaign, and I think some of it might be after he became president, I'm not sure, but it's kind of lined up with, how people thought back then of other people that were color. And so you have to think, like, the majority did not vote for him as far as popular vote, but there was a lot of people that still voted for him. And I don't see why. And I've heard many things. I've heard from 2 people that it was written in the Bible or something like that, but I choose not to go and talk about that, because I don't want to argue with anybody about my Lord and about the president, because for me, the president and my Lord are not on the same level at all, especially this president. So I'm not trying to argue with anybody in regards to that. But as I was saying, like, you have a lot of people who believe, this man is going to do something for us, whether religiously or not. And I don't see it. And he's doing so much damage to our world and to our country. We have had horrible presidents, yes, but there was still presidents that stuck to certain morals, stuck to certain traditions, stuck to certain viewpoints and ways, and went with what the people wanted for the majority. And this man goes with what he wants and what will put another dollar in his pocket. And so he cares only about himself, and that's not the duty of a president. The president is supposed to care about all of us. And regardless of the past presidents, we all worked real hard to get to this point, and he's setting us back 50 years, and that's not cool. And for people like myself, I'm concerned, but I'm not going to stay quiet about it. And that's the number one mistake we make, is we are quiet about these serious issues. And we need to stand up, speak up, and just speak up. Like, speak up about your experiences or what you believe in. If you've never had a bad experience, I'm not saying that you shouldn't share nothing. You should share what you feel about the situation. If you feel what others are doing is wrong when it comes to racism, you know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is, just because you haven't experienced a negative attitudes and negativity because of racial issues or whatnot, doesn't mean you don't have nothing to say. It doesn't mean you don't speak, and it doesn't mean that you don't let people hear your voice. Make people hear your voice, because if you don't believe in the way people are treating others, then that's important too. Because people who feel like there shouldn't be any kind of discrimination like that or whatever, and there shouldn't be no racism, a lot of people do not speak up. And so it's the people who don't talk, the people who are vocal about their racism, and then people that are against the racism. And if you're on a team, if you're on a side rather, you gotta choose that side, because war is gonna happen. And I don't know what kind of war, I don't know literally a war, but things are gonna get crazy. I am not trying to be dramatic or scary or anything like that, but this man is bringing down our country. He is bringing down the unity that we've worked really hard. We weren't 100%. I'm not saying we were all rainbows and lollipops. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is we were working in the right direction. We were finally going there. You know what I mean? We were finally on our way. And this man is our president, and this man is doing this, and he can't control every single person, but he's the president. You cannot ignore his influence and how it has increased. Get out of my country, go back to where you came from, Spanish is not the American language. All this stuff has been said before. I feel like it's being said even more. And it's really scary because, you know, I want to bring kids into this world, but will they be safe? Every day when my husband leaves this house, I'm scared, you guys, because he's been pulled over for no reason. No reason. Not a tail light, nothing. He had his license, he has insurance, everything, whatever, and he is still harassed. Okay? He's asked if his car is stolen. He's told he looks like a description. But, you know, there was nothing going on. They later, like, will tell him, like, oh, it was a mistake, or whatever the case is. They've had shotguns to his head, had him on the floor. They've arrested him for what someone that he got into it with said that he did. They took that person's word over his, no problem, nothing, put him in jail, made him go on probation, all this stuff, you guys. And all he did was be black. That's all he did. You know, my husband has a temper, but I feel like the police egg him on. You know, he'll be cool at first, and then they like start what's that word, like jabbing at you, like making little comments, saying little things, insulting you, you know, stuff like that. And so any decent person, any normal person, you know, is human, and they act upset, and so then they use that against him, and it's just kind of like this cycle that is just constant with him and cops. And my point is, we have got to think about what we can do. I'm just doing a video. I don't know what I'll do tomorrow, but all I know is, if you don't believe racism exists, if you trying to ignore it, you trying to tell me something else, you're ignorant. And I think you should educate yourself. And I'm not trying to be rude, I'm not trying to be mean, I'm not trying to name call. You can call me whatever you want, you could do whatever you want, but come on, man, it's real. And this should be over. This should be done with. This should be in our history as the bad times, but it's not. We have only created a new form of hate and violence and discrimination against each other. And it's up to us to stand up and speak for ourselves and for others.